There's a point in every soul's journey where grief becomes a gate, where betrayal births awakening, where you drown not to die, but to remember who you really are. And that point is Sedna, one of the most distant objects in our solar system, and one of the most powerful voices in your chart. Discovered in 2003 and named for the Inuit goddess of the Arctic Sea, Sedna is no ordinary dwarf planet. She lives in the frozen reaches of the solar system. She's far beyond Pluto, in a dark elliptical orbit that takes roughly 11,400 years to complete. And yes, you heard that right, 11,000 years and some change to go around the sun. Now, astronomically, she exists in the coldest, most remote region we've ever found. So distant that actually a lot of people aren't even sure that it's in our solar system. And Sedna's presence, it stretches our understanding of time, space, and soul evolution, really. And that's exactly what she does in the birth chart. So let's get into the myth first before we talk about the birth chart. And it's an Inuit legend, and there are many versions of it. This is one telling, but all of them have the same theme and very dramatic ending. So once in the icy regions of the north, there lived a young woman named Sedna. She was beautiful, she was strong-willed, and she was deeply connected to the natural world. And she had beautiful long hair, and she spent a lot of time combing it and a lot of time admiring it. She refused every man who came to marry her, and some people thought she was too proud, others thought that, she could just see through all the lies of the men that were coming to her. But the truth is, Sedna knew none of them really honored her and honored who she was. Eventually, a stranger arrived, and it was a hunter cloaked in furs, promising her warmth, food, protection, and she was tired of her father's pressure and his kind of like coldness toward her, so she agreed to marry this guy, just kind of to appease her father. So she moved to a distant land. But all those promises, they were false. The man was not who he said he was at all. He was actually a bird in disguise. His island, it wasn't warm, it was barren, and it was cold, and he turned cruel very soon. So Sedna was very sad, and she called out to her father, and eventually her father saw her suffering, and guilt overtook him, so he came to save her. He got her and gathered her in a kayak and went to take her home, but the birds saw them, and he summoned a storm. The ocean rose in rage. The waves towered. The kayak rocked back and forth. And terrified, her father made a choice that changed everything. To save himself, he pushed Sedna overboard off the ship. And when he did this, she clung to the edge of the rafters, begging for him to help. But to break free of her grasp, he took an axe and he chopped off her fingers. And her body sank beneath the waves. And there, in the black, cold silence of the ocean, Sedna transformed. Now, her severed fingers, those became the whales, the seals, and the sea lions that would feed her people. And she became the goddess of the deep, ruling over the ocean's creatures and the mysterious realm of the subconscious. But she didn't forget. To this day, Inuit shamans say that when people stop honoring the animals or when they forget their bond to the earth, Sedna tangles the seas and withholds the catch. And it's only through ritual, through humility and respect, can the shaman descend into her depths, comb her hair, and ease her rage. So Sedna is the exiled one. Sedna is the betrayed daughter who became a goddess. Sedna is the frozen grief that became sacred power. And in astrology, Sedna speaks to primordial trauma, not just from this life, but from collective timelines, ancestral lines, and lifetimes that you've long forgotten. Sedna is where the soul carries the echo of abandonment so vast that it fractures trust in existence. And she marks the part of your chart where you've been cast out, silenced, sacrificed. Your innocence was severed in the name of survival. And really where your evolution requires radical surrender to the power of the ego. This isn't Pluto's territory of confrontation or Chiron's healing of a wound. Sedna is more ancient. Sedna is a very feminine energy, and it's a very cosmic energy. And her message doesn't come fast. She doesn't respond to effort or to intellect. She moves on deep time, soul time, ice time. Working with Sedna means confronting where you've disassociated from your own instincts, where you've rejected the wild, the emotional, your emotional body, the earth itself. It's where you've lost trust in life and where you're now being called to return, not with vengeance, but with a reverence. And this return isn't always easy. It doesn't come with instant rewards. It comes with reclamation. So you don't heal Sedna. You honor her. You listen to her grief as if it were sacred scripture. You let the numbness melt, the ocean rise, the wild come back into your limbs. And then and only then do you begin to remember that your power was never in pleasing the gods on the surface. It was in becoming one of the gods of the deep. So I'll give you some chart examples. Let's say you've got Sedna in the first house. Well, that often marks a soul that has really carried lifetimes of betrayal or exile based on just simply being who you are. This is an individual that may feel invisible, unsafe, or out of place in the human world. But they carry a deeply encoded mission, and that mission is to embody ancient wisdom and reclaim primal trust in the self. Now, let's say you've got Sedna in the 10th house. Well, that may reflect public shaming, systematic silencing, or karmic runes around leadership, especially for feminine or non-conforming souls. These are individuals that may be terrified to be visible, yet the destiny is that they lead through integrity and they lead by being seen. Now, let's say Sedna is conjunct the South Node. That signals a soul who has long journeyed through cycles of betrayal and cosmic grief. And this life may involve fully bringing those patterns to light. And that's not to re-traumatize, but to reinitiate the feminine principle of the earth. Now, most of us alive have Sedna in Taurus. That's where Sedna's been since about 1965 and was there until about 2024. Yes, it takes that long. And that's really asking us to remember our sacred connection to the earth and our relationship to it, particularly to the water, and also to re-embody trust after centuries of spiritual and material exile, and to recover a cosmic reverence for the feminine that was severed long ago. This is the work of the Sedna in Taurus generation, and it's multi-generational. This goes from the boomers in the 60s all the way to the alpha babies that were born last year. Now, when looking at your own astrology, the question is not, how do I fix this? The question is, where have I frozen myself to survive? Where have I swallowed the scream instead of singing it into prayer? And what happens if I let Sedna speak again? Because she's not here to hurt you. She's here to remind you of a truth so old, so sacred, and so yours that it was buried in the ocean floor of your soul until now. So drop it in the comments. Where is Sedna in your chart? What betrayals have you faced? What feminine wound do you carry that you're ready to heal? Let's remember together. Let's heal together. Let's do this Sedna work together. And if you aren't sure where Sedna is in your chart, you can DM me your date of birth, your birth time, and where you were born. I can look that up. And I do offer readings. I can fully decode all things Sedna, all things karmic, all things, everything astrology-wise in your chart. And I can tell you all about yourself, your transits, and really just the whole purpose of, why your soul incarnated. So, DM me if you're interested in that. And thank you so much for watching. Satnam.